Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I made a video yesterday regarding some attacks on a Crimean military base, Russian military base, and according to the reports and the article that I was covering, some barracks were attacked. According to the Russian media and the reports, two people lost their lives and I think two were injured with a fire that broke out at this barracks. That there were barracks, not Barack Obama, but barracks that were housing new recruits, new Russian recruits. And there were some explosions, and the Russians reported that their air defense systems worked. This is what they said. Okay, worked. And that it was a contradiction between the fires broke out and the air defense systems worked. Which one was it? I stated that it was an attack on the bases, on the military base, and now they confirmed that. They being the, how should I put it, saboteurs, partisans, resistance fighters, Ukrainian resistance fighters in Crimea. So they came out and they claim responsibility for the attacks, which is the resistance fighters. It's very tricky and very smart coming from the Ukrainians, and I will tell you why. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from 11th of December 2022. This is the title. Resistance fighters take responsibility for setting Russian base in occupied Crimea on fire. The ATESH, A-T-E-S-H, Jesus Christ, A-T-E-S-H, ATESH resistance movement, which operates in occupied Crimea, has claimed responsibility for setting fire to a Russian military base. And I'm quoting, "The base of the mobilized army of the Russian Federation in the village of Radianske in Ukrainian Crimea is on fire. Our agents performed as expected. We have worked on this project for a long time, and of course everything worked out for us. We will continue to destroy the Russian army from the inside." In their message, ATESH or ATESH specified that there were victims in the fire, the list of which they promised to publish. Background: the media reported that there was a fire. What does that mean? Someone played with matches? They were playing with torches? What do you mean it was a fire? And even these guys do not clarify it. These guys being the ATESH resistance movement. He says they're responsible for setting fire to a Russian military base. Wouldn't you say for bombing, for attacking, for what? It was some attack because the Russians said it was attack, not a fire. They didn't play with fires or were with the torches over there. It was some kind of drone attack, missile attack, rocket attack, mortar attack, something, because the Russians claim that their air defense systems worked. So they were activated, active, they did something. Obviously not entirely. So I would like more details, my friends. And by judging only by that statement of the Russians that their air defense systems worked, I can assume that it was not, as I said, a match fire or so. It says here that in their message, ATESH specified that there were victims in the fire, the list of which they promised to publish. The Russians said that 2 died and I think 2 were injured, but probably there are much more than that. Background: the media reported that there was a fire in the army barracks in the village of Radianske in the occupied Crimea, where casualties were also reported. Well, that's all the information they provide at this point. Now, why is this sneaky? Remember the Crimean bridge being blown up, Kerch bridge? The Ukrainians zipped it. The Russians said, well, it was the Ukrainians who did it. And because the Ukrainians did it and blown up our infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, there was not a military bridge, there was a civilian bridge that was used by everybody, then we're gonna attack your infrastructure as we promised. Medvedev promised a long time ago that if they touch that bridge, there's gonna be the hell to pay, which, as I said many times, the Russians are very consistent in their statements, in a way that if they tell you they're going to punch you in the face, they will punch you in the face. If they told you they're going to give you $1, they will give you $1. Good or bad, they are consistent, or at least have a high rating on that. Now, why are they sneaky? Looking at that, what happened with the Kerch bridge, I don't think that Ukrainians would like to really claim responsibility for this kind of things, because the Russians could find it and use it as a justification for a certain kind of level in retaliation. Now, I understand that the Russians can make up things and they can interpret certain actions however they want, and it's not only the Russians. People, so you can just say to someone, hey, how are you today? And the guy thinks that you were aggressive. That's your interpretation, his subjective interaction with you. He thinks however he wants. Moreover, in a war where you wait for any kind of little justification to destroy the other side, you can use it however you want. But the Ukrainians were not bold in saying, we did it, what are you going to do about it? So they're still hiding under it was maybe those guys, the resistance forces. Why? Because you don't know who those are. And you're going to say, oh, it's everyone can be. It's a little bit like that, but on the other hand, you hide behind it. Maybe it's the Ukrainian military, infiltrating in Crimea, and so there's no resistant forces. Doesn't matter. The Ukrainian officials don't say anything about it, don't claim responsibility. They put it on someone else. When the Ukrainians blew up those airfields within Russia, way deep within Russia, they didn't claim responsibility for that one either. Why? Because they knew that attacking a nuclear nuclear point of command, and they have nuclear no, I don't know if they have nuclear weapons over there, but they have nuclear bombers over there. So that elevates the danger of all that. They didn't claim responsibility. The Russians said it was the Ukrainian. The Ukrainians did not say it was us. The Americans said, well, maybe they want to do it. We're not for, we're not against. Again, so the Russians cannot, I guess, use that as a justification for something, which they can use however they want. As I said, someone tells you, hey, how are you? Hey, what the fuck are you asking me for? It's none of your business. So you can take it however you want in order to punch someone in the face. It's your interpretation of the interaction. So I knew yesterday when I made that video, the same. They said the explosion at this, yeah, and they activated the air system, this defense system. This was, I said, it was not a, I don't know, play with matches kind of incident. Well, we'll find out what's next. This is for now. These guys claim responsibility, and that is that's why they said it. That's the enemy within. So you can, become paranoid and look at each and every person and say, hey, are you one of those guys in the resistance? Or are you those guys? But that means your guard is up, which is good. And don't lower it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.